So, okay, so, okay, Ed Burton here, and as a request from the same person that asked me to do Barbarian Brothers, New Star Rising, gotta check out our channel, it's fantastic. I'll probably put the link down. I have received a request to do, Ghoulies. Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College. And man, was this one funny. Okay, Barbarian Brothers would be the logical choice to laugh at because it's just so stupid. But I found it more horrendous. This movie seems to be like the more horrendous one, but it's more laughable. Just because how, oh my god, it's hilarious. All I have to say about this one is that God, you're lucky. I love you, New Star, because jeez. Okay, I got you back though. At the end of this review, New Star, I'm gonna ask you to do another movie, right? And it's worse than this one, guaranteed. Just like The Room. But I digress. Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College, and this is, of course, the third one to the very successful, apparently, Ghoulies franchise. I don't know that much about Ghoulies, never liked it, saw the first one. It was very interesting because these were horror movies that are like more for kids. I mean, even though they suck, they're good movies to introduce kids to horror films. They're good horror movies that kids can watch and that kids can be introduced to horror films. They don't need all that nudity, all that, language, all this. Oddly enough, this one takes a huge step up and is more for adults. Even though there's hardly any bad language in this movie at all, if not any. This one has a lot of nudity, a lot of sexual references. It's physically wise, it's more for adults, but comedically wise, it's more for kids, oddly enough. The comedy is very pop culture reference. It's one-liners. The comedy is very kiddie for a horror movie. It's very so adults probably wouldn't like the comedy, oddly enough. So I guess they were trying to make something for everybody. It just didn't work out that way. So let's go through the story. Okay, so you have the Ghoulies, only 3 this time. Only 3. So forgettable, I don't even remember their names. But only 3 Ghoulies this time when there were like 7 or 8 in the last films. 6, 7, or 8, something like that. And they go to college, of course. And this is about as goofy as it sounds. It's incredibly cheesy for a horror movie. It's a very corny, very cheesy, very, it's like, one-liners after one-liners after one-liners that really get old very quickly. The story, there's a lot of subplots. There's one where the main ghoulie keeps on getting blamed for what the 2 other ghoulies do, and at the same time trying to get his ex-girlfriend back. Somehow this thing has a ex-girlfriend, even a girlfriend, who's dating the main antagonist, which is a college kid. And it's just so hilarious that this movie was actually made. Just who thought of this? Who in their right mind thought? I thought Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, where Alvin and Chipmunks go to college or high school or school period. I thought that was bad, but at least they handled it in a logical way, using Alvin and Chipmunks' popularity to put them in school. This, the Ghoulies, nothing, nada, nope, no. They just accept them. That's it. No questions asked about these ghoulie things. Okay, so let's go through the problems of this film. Alright? So, one of the problems is, of course, the corniness and the one-liners. But I guess you could excuse that because... But at the same time, it was in 1991 where those one-liners were really going out of date. This is where, I wouldn't say they were going out of date. It's just only a few people could get away with them, such as Schwarzenegger, Stallone, guys like that. Only a select few could get away with these one-liners. So, but this one could not get away with it. The one-liners were very cheap. They were very corny. They were very forced. They were very out of place. Another problem is that it's stereotypical college humor. It's not very inventive. It's not very creative. Everything you've seen in this movie, you've seen somewhere else, but better. It's just that it just doesn't fit in. It doesn't work. The college humor just doesn't seem. It just seems like any other movie. It just seems like any other movie's college humor, which I guess you aren't supposed to have a problem with that. But knowing that you have Ghoulies, which fills in with a lot of creativity when you think about these monsters, you can use so much with these things, and so much with college. You can make it very satirical, very you can parody it, to a huge extent because you have Ghoulies in your movie, but they just don't use that to their advantage. They really don't. They get very lazy with it. It's very stereotypical. It's very old. It's very out of date, especially for now. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. Too much nudity. I mean, oddly enough, there's no language. There's really no language. There's really nothing bad for kids to see, just like the other Ghoulies. This one just very, very, very loaded with nudity and sexually referenced characters that seem odd. But again, I guess it's college. I guess they had to do it. But at the same time, if you're going to create this reputation of making horror films that are good for kids, that kids can watch, that can be introduced into the horror franchise, you can't just throw a curveball this soon. You have to put hints. You have to put hints into the sequel. You have to make it subtle. You can't just throw it in our faces and expect it, us to not notice. You have to be subtle with it. You have to be very careful with it as well. It was obviously straight to DVD. It's very hard to find. News Star, you told me it was on YouTube. It took me a little while to find it, but I did find it on YouTube. It took me like forever though. Not that that's your fault. So, yeah, it's on YouTube. It's very hard. It's very hard to find. I wouldn't take the time to find it. It took me like an hour or so to find it. But again, you're lucky. I love you, News Star, because God, this one was tough. I mean, this one was just laughable. But I digress. It was straight to DVD, obviously, for a reason. The Ghoulies never did well at the box office. I mean, they maybe looked at now as something new and something fresh, but back then, they weren't anything special. There was a lot more out there that you could see. It seemed that it didn't know if it wanted to be funny or if it wanted to be scary. It was very, like, in between the two. They wanted to put some scares in there, but make it more comedical than the other two. I don't know if they made up their mind what they wanted to do. I think they were trying to fit in, but it was just very unbalanced. Problem with it is that a horror film and a comedy film, put them together, there has to be an equilibrium. There has to be... There can't be an imbalance anywhere, because then it feels off, it looks off. That's the problem with these horror films and comedy films, like Nightmare on Elm Street, like, Nightmare on Elm Street. Sooner or later, it became imbalanced to where they just couldn't make up their mind if they wanted to make it funny or scary. So, this is going through the same problem. It's not funny. It really isn't. The comedy is very dull. I could hear it. I bet if I was watching this in the theater, probably you could hear like a pin drop, and people laugh, and people probably saying that sucked, at a whisper. That's how probably silent it was. Makeup effects actually weren't that bad. I mean, for a movie like this, the makeup effects were good. I mean, they weren't terrible or anything, but again, and this is another movie with Eva LaRue, which I'm very mad about because, God, she is such a good actress, this girl. I mean, she did CSI Miami. God, CSI Miami. Don't get me started on CSI Miami, okay? But, God, I still miss that show, though. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, Eva LaRue is a very good actress. I mean, she did Barbarian Brothers, which and then she's doing this. I mean, it's just like, God, stop doing these movies. Eesh. So she made it up, I guess, with the Lifetime movie Cries in the Dark. I saw that a couple of years ago, and that was good. Even though the movie kind of sucked, she was very good in it. Of course, she's a very good actress. Which is why I wish she would get more work. I wish she could get that starring role because she could carry a movie. I know she can. I mean, it may be a challenge for her, but she can if she gets very into the role. If she picks the right role, then yeah, she can do very well. If she picks the right movie, then yeah, she can do very well. Um, you know, it seems like in this movie though they were trying to fit so much. It seems like they thought this was going to be the last movie, so they wanted to go all out. They just wanted to throw everything at you and make you love it. It just didn't work. It fell flat. And they did like 5 more, like, a 5th one or whatever. So it just seemed like they thought this was going to be the last movie, so they wanted to try everything. They wanted to reinvent themselves in every single way, shape, and form, where it was just too much. So, it's very stereotypical. It's not original. You've seen it 100 times, except without Ghoulies. The Ghoulies aren't very creative. They're very one-dimensional. They're not very creative. The makeup is very creative, but them as characters is not very creative. All the characters are one-dimensional. No development to the characters at all. No further development to the Ghoulies. Not really, anyway, to be fair. I mean, there was some development to the main ghoulie about him and his ex-girlfriend and the main antagonist. I guess there's lessons to be learned there. And there were some, but for the most part, not all the ghoulies were fully developed. Stereotypical college humor. Humor that wasn't funny. Comedy that fell flat. A horror movie that will go down in history is probably a huge failure, both financially and critically. Has been, anyway. No one really likes this movie. It's very forgettable. It's very forgettable. And as I'm talking, I'm forgetting about it right now. So, moving on. Final rating for this movie, 3 out of 10 stars. That's being generous. So, new star. My turn. Alright? My turn. Okay, so, I have a movie for you. And the only way I knew about The Room and, Garbage Pail Kids is because I saw the reviews on them from one of my favorite critics, an internet critic called the Nostalgia Critic. So, this next review I did see off of Nostalgia Critic as well. A whole bunch of bad movies lined up. But, it's called The Garbage Pail Kids. The Garbage Pail Kids. And, that is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Ever. Ever. I mean, you thought The Room was bad. Wait till you see The Garbage Pail Kids. Alright, so it's Garbage Pail Kids. I believe you can find it on Netflix, and it's here on YouTube, I believe. And check that out, please, if you would, and whenever you can, and do the review. Love to hear your thoughts. But till next time, this is Ed Burton signing off.